So welcome back everybody, this is Paul again, another one of my videos, and I got to thinking lately about how I made so many videos about all kinds of strange subjects, and I've talked a lot about the great transition that clearly civilization is going through right now. That's pretty obvious to anybody. And you know, I've made different concepts and promises or whatever, projections or whatever, and the one thing I talk about that basically there's a lot of danger. I have mentioned that we're going through a transition, but you know, I was trained in some aviation. I have a basic pilot license, and one thing they do is they teach you about all kinds of possible emergencies, and they just teach you, look, be conscious, don't panic, take care of business, be observational, just really be conscious. And then if something happens, you know, if you're conscious, you most likely, there's a good chance that you're going to solve the problem. But if you're not conscious at all, you're just really definitely going to die, you know. And the planet that we're on, obviously, you know, we go about our lives, we're busy, we have to do the things we got to do, but really, we know, we watch the news, we hear things, okay, if we travel at all, look, there's some serious problems going on. They're not getting solved. And I talk about this a lot of times to people. And some of my friends in commentary from my YouTube site go like, well, why are you so negative? Or you're always talking about like the dangers and so on. But it's just trying to be conscious because, look, let's do a little basic math here. A little bit of basic math is telling us, look, let's say you got 20 major problems, issues. I mean, just pick up a newspaper or something. I mean, you can find 20 easily. 20 serious problems. Let's say, okay, you got the climate, whatever that's all about, arguing all the time. You got pesticides, you got food problems, you got water problems, you have like, oh man, I mean, there's just so many problems. Okay, so let's just pick 20 of them, and they're not getting solved, and then they're getting worse. And you know, there's a little bit of basic high school math, I guess. There's a curve, and you like the exponential curve, and it starts going up, and it's like, whoa. And a lot of people, like I'm 63, okay, there's a lot of people who are a lot younger, they don't remember what happened, but I mean, a lot of people don't even know that there were no computers at one time, you know, or there wasn't even any TV. So it's all perspective. We're on a curve of exponential change, and this whole thing about 2012, look, it's not just one day, a year, or whatever. It's like a massive amount of change within like 100 years or so, and it's going out of control. I mean, it is just going way up there, the spike, you know. So what do you think is going to happen? I mean, 20, 30 years with the population growing, the changes, they're just incredible. Like the 20 years ago, there was no internet really to speak of, and barely, and now we depend on it like electricity. So when I say, look, there's dangers, I mean, look, come on. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. It doesn't take a trend analyst. It doesn't take, like, the problem is that people just have a collective unconsciousness, and they go like, okay, well, like, the news is terrible, but like, hey, let's go to the game, okay, you know? And what's going to actually happen if the collective unconsciousness keeps proceeding is just, what do you think is going to happen? If no one's driving the car, and it's icy road, physics, and you know, there's all kinds of, every country's worried about the dangers of their enemies. Well, most of the time the enemy's right there inside. Countries fall apart from within. I mean, they just, like, you have thousands of reasons, but all the great civilizations of the past are no longer here. So, a little bit of common sense. So now the problem is, okay, what do you do about it? Now, look, human beings are a lot more powerful than we are told. And we have all kinds of potential. And when people have a collective consciousness instead of a collective unconsciousness, just incredible things can happen. Amazing things happen when people just say, I get it, let's bond together, let's do something here. And it's not kind of like, you don't do something like all these petitions on Facebook, like, let's take action. Yeah, it's either send me some money so that I can send it to these politicians who are going to theoretically, quote, take action to fix the climate while we go shopping. Like, don't worry, I sent them $100. I sent them 1,000 this year. Come on, man, I'm really into climate. Don't worry, they'll fix it. No, they're not going to fix it. The main issues, the problems that are going on in the world right now are not going to get fixed. Obviously, if you look at a little bit of history, unless you're like just not paying attention at all. And this is our home. This planet is our home. I mean, what are we going to do? I mean, unless people wake up and say, look, I have to start today completely changing my outlook on what's going on here. Different uses of money, different uses of time, different everything. Because it's not going to happen if you wait for someone else to... I mean, a lot of people in this country, people who watch these videos, maybe they're sitting in a nice apartment somewhere or a home or whatever. We got it made compared to a lot of places in the world. And I grew up in India, and I saw a lot of poverty, and I've traveled a little bit and seen a bit of poverty. Real poverty. I mean, when a 2-year-old will beg, come up into you in diapers and start sticking out their hand and begging to you, and they're 2 years old, and they got no future, they got no home, they live in a train station. I mean, come on. I mean, and millions and millions of people live that way every day now in this world. And the people in many parts of the world where, like I'm very fortunate here, I live in a very unpopulated area. Very nice and pleasant and beauty all around. It's simple. But my goodness, how lucky we are. And, people talk about 2012. Well, 2012 is a bunch of hokey. Well, look, for right now, for decades now, in many parts of the world, forget 2012, but for many decades, there have been places on Earth, many, many places on the Earth, where it is kind of the end of the world in a way. Flooding, earthquakes, all kinds of stuff. But if you're feeling comfortable and sitting in a nice home and watching this video or something, and you're got to be one of the lucky ones. So I really believe that people who are really lucky ought to be doing something. And what can we do? We can simplify our life. We can communicate. We can band together. We can really grow food. We can get conscious of issues. I mean, there's just a million things that people can do individually in their own way to what? What's the goal? The goal is to make a more conscious, less destructive, more harmonious civilization, whatever it is. I mean, some people can sing, some people can do whatever, but do something, and every human being has incredible potential. A lot of the videos I talk about, they just say, look, we're not told this in grade school. Hey, son, look, you got born, I mean, forget the kings and queens, I mean, you have this human body, you have just like unbelievable, I mean, if you have food on the table and a decently healthy body and loving parents, oh my God, how lucky can you be? You're just, there are angels and celestial beings that would like to be you, The teachings of some civilizations. So to be here and to have a healthy body and to have a fair amount of freedom and education and options to choose, and we have options, but unless people get clear quickly and a very quick, I don't see, you know, unfortunately, it just seems like, okay, there's many, many ways a catastrophe can happen. And like I said, it eats away from inside a civilization a lot of times, almost every time. Every once in a while, you know, something from space lands on Earth and there's some kind of, oh, we didn't see that coming. And sometimes it's both, you know. But when we have a human preventable crisis, it takes a lot of people to wake up and become very conscious very quickly. We don't really have time. That's the problem. We think we have time. Oh yeah, well, let's leave it to our grandkids. For what? What are you going to leave it to? What about now? You know, I don't want to leave it to my grandkids. I want to live like if I live as long as my parents, I've got 29 more years. A lot can happen in 29 years. And what if I take care of myself? What if we find new healing technologies? What if we collectively create a different kind of a civilization so there's less stress in the 30 years ahead? I got kids. If I was my one big family, I'd say, hey guys, let's get together here. So, you know, I put my 2 cents out there, and, you know, just someone talking here, but, you know, people ask me, well, why do I make so many videos? Well, okay, well, what if nobody made anything? What if nobody said anything? You can influence people. Every human being can influence other people. If you just influence one human being in your entire life to become more conscious and live longer and live happier and live healthier, just one person in your whole life, it's incredible. But these days, you know, with technology and so much ability to travel, we can influence so many people, you know, teaching and communicating and singing and making art. So, you know, this is the Thanksgiving period. I'm just out here, like I said, making my 2 cents and probably make a lot more videos in the coming years. But, you know, I kind of wanted to summarize. Yeah, we've come through a lot. I mean, if anybody doubts that we're going through a major change in this climate, in this civilization, and we're going up that curve, it's not like this way. It's kind of a zoom. So it's time to really become conscious because we got some, like, you know, toboggan riding ahead of us here. And, you know, I think some people are not going to take it very well. But anyway, I'm going to